Soraya, how are you?
Oh, wonderful.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about some of the I've been reading a lot about the ways you're streamlining procurement at DHS. Tell us about some of the things you're doing and you're proud of.
Sure. Well, thank you. Well, since I took this position, one of the things that I've tried to focus on is bringing some innovation, some creativity to our contracting processes. I've been in this business for a long time, and I always hear people say, you can't do this, you can't do that, and that's not really true. The FAR actually is a pretty flexible document. You just have to understand it and know how to use it. So one of the things I've done is...
There are no constraints, just challenges.
Just challenges, there you go. So operating within the four corners of the FAR, I stood up what's called a Procurement Innovation Lab, and basically that's a virtual lab that gives an opportunity for contracting officers, program managers to bring us ideas on how we can streamline or enhance or improve our business processes, whether it's how we handle a particular evaluation factor, how we evaluate proposals, or a business process such as closeouts. So to dovetail into Luke's discussion about Flash, one of the things that I've tried to focus on and make sure my folks understand is that it is imperative to really understand the needs of our customers. And in the CIO community, what we did was we actually brought together several representatives from the different CIOs at DHS, including Luke's office, and we actually whiteboarded the idea of a Flash contract. Okay. And what that really means is I started with the question, how are you going to use this vehicle?
Right.
What are you going to use it for? How are you going to order services? And we started basically with the end result that you're looking for.
Focus on the result.
Exactly.
And then let's figure out how to achieve the result rather than the processes you need to go through.
Don't tell me how to write it. Tell me what you're trying to do, and I'll see if I can come up with a good answer. So we sat around, and and literally, it was in a roundtable discussion. We talked through the high-level 50,000-foot strategy, then turned it over to our teams to make it happen. We ran it through the Procurement Innovation Lab so that we can adopt some of these innovations that we've been working on. And one of the exciting aspects of Flash was we did everything totally different. We had an industry day that was completely different from any other industry day because it was not focused on the solicitation or regurgitating back to the audience about the solicitation. We actually talked about the kinds of programs that are under the pilots that we're going to use this vehicle for. We had subject matter experts available to talk to industry reps. We did a little speed dating for industry so they could team up. And then we answered questions, any questions that they had, including a little speed dating with government reps to answer questions. When we issued our solicitation, what really surprised the industry was we had a tech challenge. Instead of the standard, write me a tech proposal of 100 pages or whatever, it was really a tech challenge where we describe a problem and they're going to come in and present the solution using the methodology, their agile methodology. And we had teams of observers as well as evaluators that worked with these companies. And the companies had 4 to 6 hours to present their technical challenge, a 1-hour presentation, and then they get to go away.
Wow.
Staffing proposal was less than 10 pages, past performance.
Did industry like this, do you think?
So far, the feedback has been positive from industry, yes.
Because it moved faster.
It moved faster. It got them through the process faster. It might not have gotten them the answer they wanted. We're finding that out, right?
Right,
but we did in 120 days what normally would have taken 2 years, because Flash is a strategically sourced vehicle.
Right.
We received 114 proposals. Another thing that we did unusual was that we did publicize how many proposals we got, not from whom. We kept industry informed of the status of the procurement. So every month we were issuing an announcement. And we just recently announced awards. Unfortunately, we got a protest. Not surprised, right? That happens. But it was a 100% small business set aside. We said we would award somewhere between 8 to 15 contracts, which we did. So we pretty much followed through on everything we said we would do. But the idea behind this was, let's simplify the process and make sure that you have the ability to get what you're really looking for. And one of the questions that I consistently ask Luke and the other CIOs is, how are you going to know? What do you need to see from a vendor? What do you want them to do? What kind of people do they bring to the table that gives you an assurance that this is the right pick over another? And I don't think that's in a written proposal.
Well,
if I could add something to what Luke
was
saying.
I'm going to ask you the same question.
The communications piece is really critical here. How we communicated with our teams, but also how we were communicating with industry and keeping everyone engaged in the process, as well as redefining the priorities as we went along. In other words, you do need people to focus, and people can get a little overwhelmed overwhelmed and jump to very different topics, all, start jumping into other areas. And what we tried to do was keep everyone together and make sure that, look, let's work one thing at a time here. We can't do everything at once. We can't boil the ocean at once.
Yeah, great points. Adrian Gardner, the CIO from FEMA, has just joined us. Welcome, Adrian. Back to those challenges. Since you're talking about new ways to do things, working with your team, who someone brought up the fact they're used to doing things certain ways, was that a major challenge for you to change that culture around?
It is a major challenge because we're still in the process of doing it. But here's the thing. People are willing to step up and take chances when they know that they're going to be supported, that they know that you're going to let them fail if they're going to fail, hopefully they're not, or you're going to help them course correct. But top cover is really important.
Absolutely.
And in my business, especially the procurement business, we have a culture of risk aversion. We have a culture of fear. The common statement that I always hear is, we could get a protest. I tell people, you're going to get a protest. Don't worry about that. Let's focus on writing a procurement where we can win the protest, because that's what the goal. And you know what? If we don't win the protest, that's okay. We'll course correct. I would prefer to win, but you know what? I'm willing to take a few chances, to innovate, to be creative, and to ultimately do what I came to do, which is to deliver on the mission. All three of us, what we are focused on is making sure that we put out these successful programs, because each of the programs that we're working are about the mission of this agency. It is about improving the capability of this agency to deliver on its vital mission. So we're going to take some chances. Is everybody in the procurement community at DHS engaged? Not 100%, but I'm out there talking to them on a regular basis.
And persevering, like we heard from the other segment.
Same thing with the communication with industry. As you mentioned, to have the tendency in the government is to drop the level of communication when we put out an RFP. I'm trying to challenge people to raise that level of communication. Keep industry informed. Put out announcements on the schedule and what's changed, or if you're going to be delayed, just tell them you're going to be delayed. But let's keep that dialogue going, and let's not be fearful of telling people where we are and what we're doing. Talking to the GAO and IG, a lot of people think that's unheard of, that we would go and take a process to the GAO and IG and say, we're doing that. I did it with my quick closeout procedures. I said, here, I'm going to try this. What do you think?
A lot better to do it up front rather than I told you so, or I got you so down the road, where all of a sudden you get the surprise.
And I do want to emphasize that what we're really talking about is good planning, smart planning, where you sit around a table and you say, what are we trying to do?
Right.
And how do we get there? And we lay out a nice roadmap. And then we course correct as we go. And we've done that quite a few times.
Well, I really last word here. We're down to our last minute.
So the only thing I would add, they both hit on the two topics that I would say, the leadership and the communication, the regular communication, but also make no assumptions. Ask the question. Don't assume that you understand. Go in the room, ask the questions, no matter how dumb you think that question is, because you're going to find out that you're going to learn something new.
Excellent advice.